Russell Wilson appears to be the starter here for preseason game 2 for your Pittsburgh Steelers. And I caution you all to quit discounting Russell Wilson and quit letting this narrative being spun that he is completely washed and too old to play the position. Welcome back to Mic Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason here on a Friday. Let's dive into some Steelers talk ahead of preseason game 2. That will be tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Acrisure Stadium versus the Buffalo Bills, where Russell Wilson seems to be the guy that's going to get the nod, get the start to continue this progression toward the 2024 regular season, where Russell Wilson appears to be the incumbent starter. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers as a whole and you say to yourself, with good quarterback play, good defensive play, the special teams being solid, this team got a real chance. I like their chances with especially the way the defense can play. The defense hopefully can keep them in ball games like it did last year. However, I think there will be a little bit different narrative spun this year on the offense, because I think they will be able to run the football. I think they will be able to do some things in terms of time of possession that maybe they weren't able to do consistently last year in 2023. Let's look at Russell Wilson's numbers from last year. Over 3,000 yards passing, 26 touchdown passes to only 8 interceptions. The guy can still get it done. And yes, I know there's been a narrative spun that he's not a good dude or something in the locker room. Maybe he had some bad season last year. He wasn't able to get it done. But you look at last year going 6-1 in his final games with the Denver Broncos. That wasn't bad. You look at Russell Wilson's numbers. Those aren't bad. And if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, if you would have had the numbers that Russell Wilson put up last year in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, you guys, we would have won. We would have been a way better ball team. We would have probably not finished 10-7 and backed our way into the playoffs. You would have probably won some of those games that you should have won. You would have definitely had a more high-power offense, and maybe perhaps that would have trickled down, just in speculation, to where the defense might not have been as banged up late in the year. You never know. That kind of quarterback play last year, the Steelers would have loved it. They would have loved to have those numbers, that type of play from the quarterback position, and they didn't. Until you had Mason Rudolph come in and play at an NFL level, you didn't have NFL quarterback play in 2023, and that was a major, major issue. I just want to caution everybody, though, and I know that it can go south, and barring injury, barring Russell Wilson's health, I think that he will be decent enough and good enough and serviceable enough to lead this offense in a very productive way. And you look at Russell Wilson's history in the NFL and you say to yourself, when has he been at his best throughout his career? Quality defensive play, which the Steelers have. Check. Quality run game. The Steelers should have. Check. And behind a quality offensive line. And I think with the young talent the Steelers have accumulated, I think that box will be checked. You look at a young center in Zach Frazier, who's potentially going to be the week 1 starter, especially now that you have Herbig with that injury. You look at Zach Frazier and you say to yourself, this could be the beginning of the new era at the Pittsburgh Steelers center position. A guy that has the potential to be a real monster there. And be really consistent, playing in front of Russell Wilson. You look at some of the other young talent, a Broderick Jones. You look at some of the veterans, and an Isaac Seumalo, James Daniels. Maybe the possibility of a Troy Fautanu coming in there and getting Dan Moore's butt up out of the starting lineup. A lot of possibility, a lot of good things ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my eyes, especially with that quarterback play ahead or behind that young offensive line that could potentially be a really, really good unit maybe midway through this season. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers hopefully will get off to a hot start with Russell Wilson under center, a guy that can put up numbers, a guy that can still push the ball down the field. And I just can't get on board with this narrative of that he's horrible, he's washed, he can't do it, he's done. Again, you might worry about the injuries. The injuries might get you a little bit worried, and that would be the only thing right now because of his age that you don't want to start to see little injuries. But again, I think Mike Tomlin and this coaching staff, the medical team, they've handled him correctly, and they've seen some lessons that have happened in the NFL with such injuries like that calf in the preseason, to where you don't want those to be nagging injuries. And I think they took their time, allowed it to heal, allowed Russell Wilson to become fully 100% before they went out there and put him back into any type of action. And I think Russell now has came on there at the end of camp, really started to find himself, and you're going to see that work on display, I think, tomorrow. And I think you'll see Russell Wilson have a few series, and I think he will be able to produce. Preseason game 2 is the game in which we are really going to hang our hat on a lot of player evaluations, a lot of our thoughts of how this team will do in 2024 will ride and be dependent on some of these performances that you see in the second preseason game. That is the big telltale right now with the way the preseason is designed. You know, preseason game 2 is that game where you're going to see a lot of the starters, a lot of the first team guys out there getting their reps ahead of the 2024 season. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Now, again, you will see vanilla schemes. You won't see all the wrinkles in an Arthur Smith offense. You're going to just see the basics, and that's just the way it is in the preseason. They're not going to show their hand, like I've told you before. They're not going to go out there and just be like, oh, whatever, man, let's just show it all right now. They're not into that. That would be a mistake. So you're going to still see, again, basic vanilla schemes, both offensively and defensively. But yet I think Russell Wilson will still be able to produce, and I think you're going to see an efficient offense with a steady run game with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. And I think you're going to be able to see an offensive line that's going to get better every time you see them, and their performance is going to just start to wow you. I think by about week 6, I would say you'll start to see this offensive line really be something special in my eyes. I think that could be the area, the sweet spot to where they start to come together. And I think also you're going to see Russell Wilson around week 4, week 5, week 6. I think you'll see him really start to hit his stride, but I think the Steelers will be more than serviceable enough to win ball games. Until that time, I think, though, week 4, 5, 6, that area right there, that 3-week span, I think is where you start to see good teams start to rise up, start to really show how good they are and what they are capable of doing. So that's what I'm really looking for on Saturday. And the real premise behind this whole show was to caution you to not believe some of the things that you hear through the national media about how bad Russell Wilson is, because I think that narrative being spun like that is a false one. And I don't think Russell Wilson is that horrible right now. The guy's in excellent shape. I still think he got a big arm and can do those things that are necessary in order to keep defenses on their heels. And when you add a run game and a good action game, a good play action game to Russell Wilson's weaponry, you will definitely see a Russell Wilson that I think will please you and really get you excited for 2024 because of the possibilities if Russell stays healthy. And I think another thing that does too, guys, before we check off here on a Friday, I think that also gives Justin Fields the proper time to develop the tools and the ability to just sit back and watch Russell work. The ability to get to practice, break down film in the regular season with Russell Wilson, a true veteran, and give Justin Fields those tools in order to succeed and to pick his NFL career up and get it back on the right track. And I think that's going to be something that will prove to be invaluable for Justin Fields. And I'm really excited to actually see that and see how that all works out in Justin's favor. And I think it will definitely make him a much better quarterback moving forward into the years to come. All right, guys, that's it. Steelers, Bills tomorrow. Preseason game 2 at 7 p.m. at Acrisure Stadium. You're going to get to see your Pittsburgh Steelers for the second time here in the 2024 preseason, which is awesome. And I think you're going to enjoy it and be pleasantly surprised. I think it'll be a much better outing than you saw in preseason game 1. So, again, we'll be live tonight let's do it on a regular time. Yeah, let's do it we'll see. No, we'll do it at a regular time, about 8:15, 8:20. We'll do it then. And if it goes a little bit earlier, we'll do it, I'll make an announcement on the community tab. So make sure you turn on your notification bell so you're alerted to exactly when things will kick off for our live show. Again, I'm going to give a little bit extra time tonight, so maybe we'll do it late, about 8. We'll do it at 8 o'clock, probably 8:10 at the latest, I would say. So just be ready around then, and we'll get things moving. So until then, guys, I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports. Peace.